Well, as you know, I was in the room, the Roosevelt room here a couple of days ago when Michael Dell said he and his foundation, along with his wife, were giving $6.25 billion to seed the Trump accounts. 25 million kids, 10 and under, will get $250 in zip codes where the median income is $150,000 or lower. And they're inviting all sorts of other philanthropists to join and put money into the pot to help get kids started. And this goes along with what Donald Trump put together, which was a $1,000 check for kids 2 years and under to start their lives. Jon Hartley is an economist and policy fellow at the Hoover Institute. He joins me now. John, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Senator Ted Cruz was there. He said if you took the $250 and you maxed out it's basically a 401k for kids, these Trump accounts, and you can put up to $5,000 a year into the account. If you did that, and you get that from an aunt, an uncle, a friend, doesn't matter, wherever the money comes from, could be your parents, whatever. By the time that child is 18 and you cannot spend the money until you're 18, that account could be worth $175,000. If you did that until you were 35, it'd be worth $750,000. I mean, this is really potentially a game-changing idea, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it's important for a few reasons. I mean, one, there was no mechanism to give money voluntarily to all of America's children. One, I think it's just a useful development in state capacity to help younger Americans who face high housing costs. Older generations right now don't want to loosen zoning rules to grow the housing supply and make housing more affordable. They also don't want to reform entitlements. It's tough being young in America. So one, I think this is a mechanism to help younger Americans in a very direct way, in a very broad way as well. The second thing is, and this is in the words of Secretary Besson, it's also sort of a mechanism to privatize Social Security in a sense that these are very similar to IRAs or 401ks, as you mentioned. And it's a massive opportunity for young people to start saving. I mean, you think about it, one challenge right now in America is that 38% of Americans don't own any stocks, either directly or through pensions. And so this is sort of a way to enable more Americans to participate in that big upside. It's a huge problem that many Americans don't own stocks right now. So if we can get younger people investing in stocks, it's great from a perspective of helping them from a retirement perspective. It makes reforming entitlements in the future easier. And on top of that, you're also teaching people about capitalism and perhaps preventing them from falling down the path of socialism. And you see how many young people, for example, were just voting for Zoran Mandani, socialist in New York, who's going to be New York's next mayor. Yes, it's true. The program does cost a few $billions a year, but I think it's a wager. I think that's worth making, and I think it's a very interesting development.
Yeah, I want to go back to Secretary Besson for a moment here, because something else he talked about on Wednesday in the Roosevelt room, I guess it was Tuesday, was financial literacy. He said, we have got to teach kids about money. And so when they have these accounts, they'll look at the stock market and say, hey, I've got a stake in this, and I've got a stake in this. There is no financial literacy in America, John. People are completely ignorant about money. And I'm talking about adults. We don't teach kids anything about money of value when they're in elementary or middle or high school. And so it's important that we explain money and the free market system to kids so they understand, so that we don't end up with a generation of socialists that we've allowed to happen because we didn't teach them properly. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also add teaching history too. I was born on November 11th, 1989. I was born the day that the Berlin Wall was falling. And essentially all those who were born after me have no memory of what the USSR was, what a socialist state like the USSR and its failure and what it produced. So I think at some level, we have to get, as you mentioned, and as Secretary Besson mentioned, have to get back teaching financial literacy and teaching history, good American history and world history, and teaching people about failed experiments in socialism and how free market capitalism has helped and markets have helped in bringing billions of people out of poverty. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't have no government or when we see limited government, it doesn't mean no government. We need safety nets And we do need to help people who are in need, who can't help themselves. That's a real issue, and perhaps an issue that conservatives need to speak better to. But we also, can't fail children, fail young people in not teaching them about history, not teaching them about how markets work. It's so important, and teaching young people how to save, how to invest in equity index accounts, and how there's a certain magic that goes with compounding and how they can benefit from that in the long run. I think it's such an important lesson. Just simple investing, putting a little bit of money away in index ETFs or mutual funds, just makes such a massive difference in people's lives. And it's not a secret. It's just 38% of Americans, again, don't own any stocks, either directly or through pensions. And we need, for future generations, and for those who still have time, we need to teach them these lessons for sure.
We sure do. The economy seems to be on the upswing with gas prices at lows we haven't seen in a very long time. Some stations across the South below $2 a gallon today, which is remarkable. We see the market went way up yesterday. Cafe standards being addressed by the president, which will help the auto industry. All these things are very helpful. And the big, beautiful bill, because it was packaged so large, so much was in there, a lot of people don't realize the benefits they're going to get, like big tax refunds at the beginning of next year, because no tax on tips, for example, took effect on early January. So people are going to get big refunds. They didn't even realize the money's going to be better. I think that the economy's on the upswing, and I hope that these young people can embrace the idea that this gives them a leg up. I'll give you the last word.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're seeing a massive amount of economic growth in America right now. In the second quarter of this year, 3.8% real GDP growth. The Atlanta Fed GDP Now tracker predicts something around 4%. And as you mentioned, this is even before a lot of the One Big Beautiful Bill effects take place. And there's a lot of very pro-growth components to that bill. You're making permanent expensing or making full expensing for firms permanent. So that means that you can write off any sort of expenditures on buildings, capital equipment. So it means more property, plant, and equipment spending on the part of firms, which means more jobs and also higher wages. And so that's just beginning to come online. I think the business tax reform is so substantial and so important, and I think that's going to continue to incentivize all the growth that's going on, and that has many wonderful effects for American workers. And on top of that, we're living in a massive generative AI boom that's happening right now. And I think it's a very unique time, and it benefits a lot of people, not just those in tech, those building data centers, those in the energy pipeline. So I think a lot of Americans can look at the economy right now and see a lot of opportunity.
Jon Hartley from the Hoover Institute, an economist there. Thank you for joining us, John.
Thanks so much for having me.
Really appreciate it. And then, of course, Donald Trump says that he'd like to see income tax go away. He says it won't happen overnight, but he'd like to see him go away altogether. Think what that would do. Don't forget, you can always listen live, stevegruber.com. You can also watch live on YouTube. Follow on the streaming on X. We've got so many options for you. Never have to miss a moment of these programs that we work so hard to put together for you every day. And coming up, the best part of the show.